Hey guys, Art 17 here, and we're in week 6 still. We're going to talk about assignment number 11 right here. Week 6, assignment 11. Okay. And it's drawing ellipses. The homework is a drawing that has to do with dance, drama, or music. And I want you to bring in the cultural aspect of something like that as well in your drawing. And recognize that you're showing a culture perhaps in dance or drama or music with your drawing. I'll show you some examples of that. So week 11 is drawing ellipses. Let me show you an example of that. So ellipses are showing up on round containers, bottles, vases, glasses, cups, anything cylinder-ish has a round makeup to it. Then you have a top area that's could be open or could be a lid on there. Still, there's an ellipse if you're looking slightly over the top. If you're looking straight on with it, there won't be an ellipse because your eye level is right at the edge of this. You won't see this. You can do a little experiment by getting a cup or glass, putting it at arm's length out in front of you at eye level, and look at the top and the bottom. Well, they look straight across. You don't see an ellipse, which is the oval shape. If you raise it or lower the glass, you'll start seeing an oval shape appear. If you put your head right over the glass, over the top of it, you'll see a circle. So this is all perspective at the actual container you're looking at, which is round. And most bottles or cups or vases are completely round, a total consistent round shape. So you're going to have this oval shape called an ellipse at the top and the bottom. Don't forget the bottom, because the bottom is not straight across on the table. It actually has a curved oval shape at the bottom, just the same as the top. In fact, it's actually a little more because it's further away from your eye level. Let's say your eye level was somewhere up here looking at this vase. You can see down inside it slightly. You have an ellipse there, an ellipse there, there, here on this particular shape of a vase, and one at the bottom too. So don't forget the bottom one. A lot of students forget that bottom one and they draw 3 containers that I'm going to ask you to draw, and they don't put the ellipse on the bottom. Well, don't forget the bottom. I'm showing you that it exists here. If it's round here, it's round there. And so that means that it has an ellipse if you're looking slightly over the bottle like you are here, or the vase. Let me show you another example. Here they're breaking down various container shapes, right? Bottles, vases, glass. Bottle on its side would even have an ellipse, but I'm not going to ask you to draw that. I am going to ask you to draw 3 containers slightly overlapping each other like these are, and represent their ellipses. You're going to set these up in the table in front of you. You're sitting down, or maybe if you're going to stand up, fine. But if you're sitting down and these containers are slightly lower than your eye level, then they're going to have ellipses. There's going to be one at the top and one at the bottom. And of course, the whole thing has a round shape to it, and it may come up and go in and out like these do, or come up to a bottleneck here, or bottleneck here, or top to the vase here, or your glass has a certain shape to it. It all has an ellipse, but either at the top or the bottom, or if you have a liquid in there, in the glass or the bottle that you can see, that's going to have an ellipse too. The ellipse is the oval shape depending on how far your eye level is up above this container. Okay, that's all it is. But don't forget that the bottom has an lisp too. Okay, and the top and the bottom have lisps. Okay, let's look at some other examples. So here's somebody that drew this. Of course, this jar here has a square bottom. If you look at ball canning jars, they're round at the top. So here's your oval shape, your lisp. At the bottom, it is straight. That's only on that, right? It's not a bottle or other vases. Here the Kerr is round all the way, and so it does have a rounded slightly. I think it actually it matches the top lisp. So you want them to match, otherwise it's going to look different in perspective from the top to the bottom. Okay, let me show you another example. If you notice the dark background and then the table surface maybe not as dark but has cast shadows, that's a really good way to bring out your subject matter, because all the highlights in your subject matter are going to now stand out because you took and got rid of all the white paper back here with some tone. Just a smudged in sort of tone. Doesn't have to look like anything, but and it doesn't have to be perfect, but not scratchy would be better. Smooth it out, but it can have lighter and darker areas to it. But it brings out all the highlights in your other subject matter. But look at the containers. The cup has a lisp on the bottom. It has an oval shape down there, as does the top. Same with this container. Oval shape on the bottom, oval shape on the bottom of this shot glass, and the top. Now the top of lisp shape or width or how wide it is or how much curve you have should match the bottom. So the bottom's not going to be straighter or wider than this. It's going to be the same sort of shape as the bottom. In fact, the bottom tends to be a little more a little wider than the top, but I'm not, if you're drawing these sort of items, you're probably going to not notice that much about that, but keep that in mind. It is a little wider at the bottom than the top, but not drastically, okay? Because when you look at these images again here, you can see that it might be a little wider down there, but not that much, not that drastic. So that's not as important as getting the rest of it. Now this is closing in on your eye level. Like this container here and this one up here are at your eye level, so you don't see no lisp there. But the pitcher here and the bowl have an lisp, and then the bottom has a slight lisp too. It's not straight across. This container is square, right? Square-ish, so it's straight across there. But I want you to focus in on containers that have lisps. So get 3 containers and overlap them a little bit with each other, 3 or 4 or 5, but at least 3, okay? Don't do 1, don't do 2. Do 3 so I can see that you understand lisps, the top and the bottom. Okay, any questions on that? Let me know. I'll actually provide a video on that as well. And let's go into the dance drawing for the homework. Now there is culture to these. The ballet has a culture. Where it came from, I want you to understand that. Maybe even research it so you have an understanding of where ballet came from. Or free dance has a culture too. Gypsy dance, possibly, like this one. This is what they call jitterbug or the Lindsay hop back in the 40s and 30s and 40s. They had that, or mostly the 40s, had that sort of thing where you danced together and there was a lot of hand gesture and foot movement and certain dance steps to do, swinging partner around and whatnot. So all these have a culture to them, a place they came from, and why the dance was popular with who. What status group of society did this compared to the gypsy dance, let's say, which may be more of a folk aspect to it than the more refined uh, dance of ballet. Let's go up here and put in music, because you could do it on dance or you could do it on music or drama. So music drawings, now we're getting into a lot of different things. You might have uh, music notes in particular, or whatever the genre that's sort of being spoken to here. Maybe this is more like classical. Um, and as we come down, we may have a more of a rock and roll take or a jazz take with the saxophone. Or here, jazz instruments. Well, this is actually not jazz. That's more classical too, with the cello and the French horn and the flugelhorn, trumpet, and the kettle drums. You have a culture in that as well that I want you to know and recognize when you're using that culture in this. This is more classical. The butterflies coming out. As music can be kind of whimsical like that. Jazz again with the saxophone. It's more on the jazz side of things. Maybe this is more rock and roll with all the guitars. And rock and roll has a culture. Basically it came from blues, which is an American culture. Blues, Dixieland, jazz, folk music in particular, all uh, culminated to get together and create early rock and roll, and then rock and roll took its place along many cultures. And it does have more eclectic blends of cultures as it progressed. So rock and roll could take on a Spanish guitar sound, or gypsy jazz, more guitar sound, or fusion between jazz and rock and roll, or have a country rock sort of feel to it. And then you have a couple of different cultures going on there within the rock and roll. So just know that you're doing that, and recognize that in each one of these. I may ask you, I think I will ask, what culture are you addressing here? What's it about? And I want you to be able to tell me. Okay? This is a kind of a blend of things here, but I'm not sure how to depict this one. And if you're not sure, or it has many aspects of jazz, maybe blues, and maybe rock and roll in there, then talk about that. Okay, but it goes on, and it can be something more along those lines too, where it's kind of an Americana idea on things here, because jazz and rock and metal and well, certainly rock and roll originated in America. Okay, so take that as you will. And then drama. Let's see what drama has to offer. And mostly they show the theater comedy faces, or the sad and the happy face, in different ways. Because this is what theater, drama, masks were all about in way back when, and then even now. So you could take several of these and show that, and just know the culture of theater. We wish to bring emotions and drama from happy to sad. So you see many of them here. And you could do something like that, okay? Not like that. I'd like you to shade it. Don't do a flat one. We've been talking about shading so long here. Or if you really want to use color, try it. That's okay for this one. If you're good at it, You know, if you're not so good at it, then stick to the graphite or charcoal. But there's many ideas, and now you're getting into other things down here, which I'm not so sure they show drama all that much. You know, and if you want to depict what drama and then talk about it to me if I ask, when I ask, then you'll be able to pick out what culture does that represent, or how many subcultures, or what multicultural aspects are involved in any of this drama, music, or dance. Okay, and that's the homework. Okay, so and make it epic. Don't do just this very simple little thing. Unless you're using silhouette, then go for that. But anyway, that'll be the homework there, and you know about Lisps now. And watch the video again. I'll show a video on Lisps and provide that for you so you can watch that as well. All right. Remember that the midterm presentation is going to be due during the week of week 8. We're in week 6 now. So start thinking about it, because it'll, like I say, be about either an artist, an art style, an art movement, something in art history. It can be about any particular artist. Doesn't have to be famous. Could be someone that is less known, or an art movement, which there were several. You look them up. You know, Surrealism, pop art, Impressionism, Post-Impressionism, Expressionism. They all had presence in different time zones. So I want you to know about that if you're going to do it on that, or it could be about a specific media, or way to paint, or way to draw, or way to do something in art. You're going to show 5 different images that relate to your subject, that describe it and show examples of, and then also the text to be able to read if you're not doing a video. This is a PowerPoint, Google Slides, or you could do a video where you talk and show images and have bullet points. or however you're going to do that. But also you need to provide one piece of artwork that you did this semester that relates to that subject, whatever your subject is. Now, if you have a question about the subject, pass it by me, and I'll give my input and what you might be able to do with that. I also want you to touch on the culture with that presentation too. So, like, let's say you did tattoos. Well, tattoos have a large cultural background. They have, you know, in Japan, New Guinea, tribal, islander, Africa, wherever, I mean, lots of places, even Celtic or Viking, Native Americans, possibly, certainly New Zealand, tribal tattoos. So you might want to talk a little bit about one of those, or in particular what you're focusing on in your tattoo presentation, or maybe it's an overall. So you're going to give several different aspects to cultural background. All right, the multicultural. All right, so that's what I want to see. Part of your presentation should include something about culture, of where what you're talking about, what your subject is coming from, or where it came from, or what it's aligned to. You know, there's also subcultures. It doesn't have to be a direct ethnic culture. It could be a subculture to the artwork that you're talking about. Like anime is a culture, a subculture of something else. It, you know, originates in Japan. There's reasons why anime came around and came out of a certain culture. So research that, put a little bit of that into your presentation, and then also do your own artwork about it, one piece, that relates to your subject, and include that in the presentation. Have an image of that. So that's 5 or more images of describing and giving examples of this subject, and then your own, which is separate, one piece, and a lot of text that is describing it from the beginning to end, and have a conclusion and why you're interested in it, why it struck you, why do you do it. And it doesn't have to be something we're doing in this class. It could be something other than painting and drawing. And there's lots of cake art, costume art, makeup art, tattoos, performance art, ceramics, metalwork, woodwork, all kinds of different artwork goes into many different media. All right. So let me know what your ideas are. Start thinking about that so that you can get ready and start preparing to get it done, and turn it in, send it in a email attachment to me during week 8. Okay. All right. We'll talk with you later. Have a good weekend.